سبيل الدموع سبيل مريح تنهدى يا صاحي كي تستريح وبث الدعاء الخفي الصريح يسعك الفضاء الرحيم الفسيح سبيل.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد. Today inshallah we would start the discussion of the laws relating to slaughtering and hunting. Now, with regards to slaughtering, we didn't do that, right? We didn't start that, right? Slaughtering. Now, the laws of slaughtering, right? As we mentioned earlier, it is what? Incumbent upon what every Muslim that person what he consumes yani halal, right? So it's not sufficient that a person advertise something as halal, or a person claims that he's eating halal. What is important is what that person considers to be halal is what it meets the requirement of the Sharia, and only if it meets the requirement of the Sharia, then it will be considered halal, right? Our just merely labeling something as halal doesn't make it halal, right? With regards to slaughtering, there are certain requirements that are necessary, and if these requirements are met, then that meat or that slaughtered animal, only then it will be considered to be halal. And the command of Allah Azza wa Jal, He mentions, Ya ayyuhan nas kulu mimma fil ardi halalan tayyiba. The command of Allah Azza wa Jal is that we eat only that which is halal and pure. So they are just simple three requirements. Requirements for something to be Islamically slaughtered. And that is we look at three aspects then. The method of slaughtering, right? Tasmiyah, the recitation of Bismillah, and we look at the slaughterer himself, alleged slaughterer. Right? The method of slaughtering, the concept of tasmiyah and Bismillah, and also that the slaughterer be legit. Right? With regards to the method of slaughtering, right? With regards to the method of slaughtering, there are 4 passages that must be severed. You have the trachea, which is the air passage. You have the esophagus, where the throat, where the food goes down, and you have the 2 jugular veins, right? So these 4 passages or pathways down the throat, it must be severed, right? 4. According to the Hanafi madhab, there's an allowance. It doesn't mean this a person does it deliberately, but they mention if at least 3 out of the 4 is cut, is severed, then that will still be halal. Right? It doesn't mean we just slaughtered 3, right? No, we cut the 4, right? But if perchance the animal died by just notice that only 3 out of the 4 passages were severed, that is still halal. It is still halal and permissible, right? So you have the air passage, the food passage, and 2 jugular veins, right? And normally, if you give it a good cut, all of these things are located right here. You give it a good cut, all will cut one time, unless you're cutting any man we talked about last week, like that, right? Now, we have some diagrams over here, but we'll skip that. Right? In slaughtering, the instrument used for slaughtering, right? The tool must be sharp. Understand? The tool, it must be sharp. It's sharp enough to what? To cut and pierce the animal, pierce the skin of the animal. You know what? The animal shouldn't die because of the heaviness of the instrument. When we speak about the heaviness of the instrument, it is not sharp, but you rub that instrument on the neck, especially with a small animal, and that animal, it dies due to what? Suffocation before what? It actually dies due to slaughtering. So it must be sharpened, right? And this is what? This is from what? What Islam teaches us also. Allah Azza wa Jal kataba yani kamal and perfection in everything. Everything we do, there's what? There's perfection and there's kamal in it. And with regards to slaughtering, there's also what? Perfection in slaughtering, meaning what? This type of slaughtering is loved by Allah Azza wa Jal. Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, he mentioned when you hidda in shufratahu, a person should what? Sharpen his knife, right? To sharpen the knife. It's not necessary, as you mentioned, that a knife be used, but anything that has a sharp edge. Now we have all kind of different material people use. Bone, they use ceramic, they use all different whatever, alright? So once it is what? It cuts and allows the blood to flow. That's the most important thing. The material doesn't matter. Types of slaughtering. Prohibited types of slaughtering. See, these classes we teach in different places or something. I think we do it over here already, right? So types of prohibited slaughtering mentioned in the Quran, right? Allah Azza wa Jal, He mentions وَالْمُنْخَنِقَةُ وَالْمَوْقُوذَةُ وَالْمُتَرَدِّيَةُ وَالنَّتِيحَةُ وَمَا أَكَلَ السَّبُعُ. All these are prohibited types of slaughtering, or prohibited types of animal to eat. That munkhaniqa is that animal that was killed because of strangling, suffocated, whether it be by accident or purposely, doesn't matter. That animal that died because of being strangled or because of any suffocated, whether it be done what? Deliberately or not, it doesn't matter. Right? And this normally would happen if a person is a dull object to slaughter. Well, mawqudha. Al-mawqudha is that animal that died because of being beaten by what? An object, a piece of wood or whatever, and the animal it died due to that beating. So that animal mentioned in the Quran, wal mawqudha, that animal is prohibited to eat, right? And listen, a person would say, well, listen, who would beat an animal? Who would beat an animal? Right? But listen, say you're trying to catch the animal. You're trying to catch what? The chicken, the rooster, right? So you pick up something and you pelt the rooster, right? A crook stick, a hammer. I don't know pelt a hammer, but you pelt in a boulders or whatever, and that animal died because of that blow, right? Understand, this is different from hunting. We explained the rules of hunting just now, right? And that animal died because of that blow. That is what? Not permissible, right? That is not permissible. If you look also a long time, probably what? You remember your days, you're shooting what? A dove, right? You have your sling and shot, and what do you have in sling and shot? You have a marble, right? Or a stone or whatever, right? So that, understands, shooting that dove, that will fall under the what? The laws of any hunting, right? But still, that more likely that dove or that bird would not be permissible to eat. Why? Because that animal it was more likely to die because of that blow, right, than what? Something piercing its skin. You understand? In hunting, what makes it permissible? Anything that what? That pierces the skin and causes the blood to flow. Right? There are two types of what? Slaughtering. One is a voluntary slaughtering, which we're speaking about here, and what? How you call it? A more what? Involuntary, a forced type slaughtering, which is hunting. Right? In hunting, there's not like what? There's not a condition that what? The veins be severed. No. Once you pierce that animal with whatever, a bullet, a spear, an arrow, right? Then you have the dogs that causes what? It pierces the skin and causes the blood to flow. Right? That's in hunting, and we speak about that. Right? So go back to the bird, the sling and shot and the bird. More likely that bird would die because of that what? That blow. rather than what? Something piercing its skin, right? So the dove and the pigeon will have the same ruling unless you shoot the pigeon with a pellet gun. That would pierce.
Yeah. Shoot the pigeon. Or later shoot the dove. Before it actually dies.
Yeah, but that rare. A big animal, yeah, you can have that. But to shoot a small bird. Right, so that's what? That's the general rule, right? In hunting also. Right, so once you shoot, you hit the target, the prey, and you happen to what? To reach the prey while it is still alive, then you have to slaughter it with that voluntary slaughtering and sever what these are passages, right? Understand? It's not a condition there. You slaughter and you hasten to meet your prey. No, you don't have to hasten to meet the prey. But if you happen to meet the prey and it's still alive, then you have to what? Slaughter it in that voluntary type. You have slaughtered. Wal-mutaraddiya. Al-mutaraddiya is that animal that died due to falling from an elevated place. Right? Always mentioned in the Quran. That animal, for example, what? You hunting that animal. You shoot the animal is injured, or not, it doesn't matter, but that animal what? It fall off what? It fall off the cliff. Just say you say Bismillah and you shoot the animal, right? And it still have life, it's still going, right? Or you send your dog and the dog what? Pumps on it, right? The animal is what? Still alive, it's injured but it's still running facing life. And it falls over a cliff, our elevated place, and falls on the ground. Right. So here now, that animal would not be considered any halal and permissible. Why? Because it is a possibility that the death of that animal was due to the fall and not what? The wound. Right? Similarly, if that animal after what? Being wounded by your weapon or your dog, it falls and what? Falls into the water, falls into a stream, falls into a river or a pond, and it drowns. And you happen to get the animal, right? Then that would not be permissible. Why? Because there's a possibility that the animal, it died due to what? Drowning and not what? Understand? And not your wound, right? Otherwise, if you can prove that, listen, that animal already dead because of your shooting, and it fall into the river, then it's okay, because it already died. And when it died, it was halal, permissible, right? And it fall into the river, fall wherever, you can retrieve that animal. But if that animal still had life, right, while it was falling, then there's a possibility, and because of that doubt, right, there's a possibility that that animal died because of the fall or died because of the drowning, and hence it would not be permissible to eat. And natiha, that animal that died, or that animal which died due to what? Butting, the butting of another animal, right? Due to what? The butting of another animal, that animal died, right? Probably unless the animal that butted him said Bismillah and then butted him. Probably, right? But the butted two animals were fighting, and one butt the other, fatal blow causes it to what? To die. Then that animal is not permissible, right? But as Brother Isa mentioned, this is a general rule. If that occurs, right, but the animal didn't die instantly, right? You're able to what? To meet that animal while it still had life. Alright, then you can what? Slaughter it. The voluntary slaughter, you sever the 4 passages, and that animal will be permissible. وَمَا أَكَلَ السَّبُعُ, that animal in which a predatory animal has killed. We're not speaking about your hunting dog, no. An animal that was a predatory animal had what? Has killed, has pounced on and killed. Then that is not permissible to eat. Alright? That is not permissible to eat. Right, so we go to what? The concept of tasmiyah, to say Bismillah. Right, we spoke about what? Severing what? The 4 passages. Right? Bismillah. Right? A person doesn't have to say Bismillah, yani Allahu Akbar. Right? Bismillah will suffice. Right? Bismillah, it must be recited and verbally. Not like the man who recited in his heart, right? Good to have the zikr of Allah in our hearts, yes. But these actions to perform salah right? To say Allahu Akbar, as we already studied, that if a person he merely raises his hands like this and put right on left, he hasn't commenced his salah. His salah would only be commenced, he would only start his salah when he utters Allahu Akbar. Only when he utters Allahu Akbar, then he has started his salah. Alright? In recitation, that person has recite in his mind. Right? Recitation is a first component of salah. So a person he needs to move his lips, articulate his tongue, and only then that recitation will be considered. Alright? So similarly, a person is slaughtering, to say Bismillah is a condition for that animal to be halal, that meat to be halal. And that Bismillah must be uttered by the lips, by the tongue. That person must move the lips. Alright? And also, the tasmiyah is done upon the animal. And this is a little difference between voluntary type slaughtering and a forced type slaughtering, which is hunting. The tasmiyah is upon the animal, not the knife. Right? So much so if that person he has a chicken, right? He's going to slaughter the chicken. Right? This is the chicken here. He's going to slaughter the chicken. He says Bismillah, and then somebody, I'll take that one instead. So you bring it, right? So now that he has to recite Bismillah once again if he changes the chicken. Why? Because the tasbih is upon the animal. You understand? So if he's slaughtering other than his animal, he must say Bismillah. You understand? As opposed to if he has a knife, his knife over here is right? He's going to slaughter with this knife, then this is the chicken. Right? Bismillah. And he decides to change his knife and take a next knife. Right? He can do that. Right? The tasmiyah is not upon the instrument. The tasmiyah is upon the animal itself. As opposed to hunting. Right? If that is your target. Right? You say Bismillah and you shoot, but you shoot an next prey. You intend to shoot that prey, but you shoot another one instead. Right? That is permissible. That is halal. Right? Because the Bismillah here is upon your arrow, upon your gun. You understand? You say Bismillah and then you release your dog. Right? And that was your target there. Right? You release your dog, Bismillah, but he come on the next prey. Right? That would be jaiz and permissible. Why the Bismillah at the time of releasing the dog. Alright? So tasmiyah is done upon the animal. So much so that if a person recites tasmiyah, Bismillah upon an animal, thereafter slaughters another animal in place, that would be unlawful. Right? And also, there should be a delay. Right? A long delay between a person he's saying Bismillah and his actual slaughtering. You understand? A person says Bismillah, the fuqaha, the judges, they have mentioned, if a person he says Bismillah and he and he drinks, right? He drinks something, okay. They say that is a short delay, right? They didn't mention what is a long delay, right? They shouldn't have a long delay, but they mention, listen, if a person says Bismillah and he drinks some water, then that is okay. That is not a long delay. So it means that a person, for example, he says Bismillah, and then afterwards your phone ring. You're talking on the phone now, right? Now he can just go and slaughter. He must repeat that Bismillah before he slaughters, right? Because between that tasmiyah and that slaughtering is a long delay, right? And that also, one is the duration of time, and also one is that person he engages into he engages himself in a different action, right? And this is the same rule pertaining to having niyyah and takbir. A person has niyyah for salah, right? So they shouldn't have a long delay between a person's niyyah and him saying Allahu Akbar, right? Except that a person's niyyah is in his heart, right? So even though he had intention, niyyah, and something happened and he engaged himself in a telephone call or whatever, eating whatever, right? And they say Allahu Akbar, that intention already there, right? And before you say Allahu Akbar, that intention there. As opposed to slaughtering, it's not the intention of a person, it's the actual utterance of any Bismillah, alright? If the slaughterer mentions the name of Allah together with, understand, all these things, what mentioned in the Sharia, this is what we do, not what we feel to do and we think, okay, this is righteous and whatever. Right, so we look at the kalima la ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. The name of Muhammad is with what? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So a person is slaughters in the name of Allah and Muhammad. He slaughters Bismillah wa Muhammad, or in the name of Allah and Muhammad. That is haram. Right? Only the name of Allah Azza wa Jalla is taken at the time of slaughtering. Only the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is taken at the time of slaughtering. Not Bismillah wa Jibreel, Bismillah wa Mikael, Bismillah wa Muhammad. No. Bismillah. Bismillah, Allahu Akbar. Bas. Only the name of Allah Azza wa Jalla is taken. Alright? Now, if a person, he forgets to say Bismillah, right? And we'll give you some tips also, right? At least what you know the ruling. Right? So if you know the ruling, good. And those who don't know it, if a person understand to forget, you cannot plan to forget something. Understand to forget, a person he forgets to say Bismillah. Right? He forgets to say Bismillah and he slaughters. Right? So here if a person he forgets to say Bismillah and he slaughters, then that animal is permissible. There's no difference of opinion in that. Just like, okay, listen, the laws of fasting. A person he eats forgetfully. Understand what is meant by eating forgetfully, as we studied. How much did that about? Five years ago? What is, you could be drinking something and drinking what? And you forget you're drinking? You could be eating something and you forget that you're eating? No, what is meant is what? A person he drank forgetting that he is fasting. Otherwise, you can't be drinking something and I forget that I'm drinking. No. A person eats something forgetting that he is fasting. Right? Here, a person he slaughters, right? Forgetting to say Bismillah. He's slaughtering and he has to say Bismillah. But that person he slaughters and he forgets to say Bismillah. The animal is still permissible and halal. Right? So now, if that is the ruling, right? You don't want to tell a person, you know what? I didn't say Bismillah when I slaughter that, but I really forget. But it's still halal. And worse, Qurbani time. You slaughter a bull, 7 people. You say Bismillah? No, I forget. Look at the people you have to deal with now. Nah, I don't want that share and this haram and this and that and whatever. If you don't have to broadcast that, right? Finish, right? Right? Understand? As I mentioned, you cannot plan to forget something. A person genuinely forgets, and if he genuinely forgets, now listen, that is it is halal, right? But you going to mention to somebody that listen, when I slaughter that bull, why I say the bull? Because Qurbani time, hold this, wait, just now. And all that commotion, come, cut. And he cut, and he said Bismillah. Right? So khalas, Bismillah. So a person forgetfully, this may not happen, but it could happen. Right? It could happen that a person forgetfully, he slaughters and he forgetting to say Bismillah. Khalas is halal, so you don't have to mention anything otherwise. Right? However, if a person intentionally omits Bismillah, understand, a person would not, no Muslim would intentionally omit Bismillah, right? Nobody would intentionally omit and leave out the saying of Bismillah, right? Just like time for Qurbani, if we have time, probably do 1 or 2 classes before we close off, right? We have this month and next month probably just 1 or 2 classes before Qurbani. The ruling is that if a person, one of the shareholders, his intent is meat, right? His intent is purely meat, solely meat, and not for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then that Qurbani would not be, the Qurbani of none of the shareholders would be valid. Not his and not any of the other 6 shareholders, right? So then we ask the question, or we beg the question, listen, Who would do qurbani solely for meat? A Muslim would do that, right? Understand? Whatever you have in your mind, no, I know a man do that, no, right? If a person he mentions to you what he's going to do with the meat. Are you going to make burger? Are you going to make biryani? Are you going to bake? Are you going to steak and kebab? This man doing it for the meat, boy? No, he just tell you what he's going to do with the meat. Simple as that. He is doing it for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, except that in our sacrifice, we don't want burn the meat. We are allowed to partake from the meat. Right? So he's just making a program and a tartib way. How am I going to eat my meat? Nothing wrong with that. Right? So we can't say a person is doing it for meat, right? Right, so that's first. Second, we spoke about what? The method of slaughtering. We spoke about the tasmiyah, the saying of Bismillah. The third thing here now, a legit slaughterer, right? The slaughterer, right, must meet the following requirements. Right, he must be a Muslim. Male or female, will go to Ahlul Kitab, Al-Kitabi, the Jews and the Christians afterwards, right? The laws pertaining to that. So he must be a Muslim, male or female. Yes, a female can slaughter, right? The person must be sane, not mad, not intoxicated, right? If a drunk man, Bismillah and slaughters, that is not permissible. A mad person, right? Even says Bismillah and slaughter, that is not. It's not a condition that child be or that person be ritually mature, an adult. A child can slaughter, right? A child can slaughter, except a child that has the age of tamyiz, meaning he can, he has sense, right? That child, 8, 9, 10 years, right? That child is that child in his slaughter would be permissible, right? Now, we mentioned, a Muslim. Allah Azza wa Jal, He mentioned in the Quran that what is slaughtering of the people of the book is permissible also, right? The people of the book, the Jews and the Christians, right? Understand? Many people, for whatever reason, I don't know, they think that we have no Jews and Christians anymore. They fall on the face of the earth. Right? They have no Jews and Christians anymore. Real Jews and Christians. Yeah, they would live until the end of time. Right? Understand? The allowance of eating their meat and marrying their woman, it doesn't mean that they are believers, right? They were going to Jannah. No, Allah Azza wa Jalla described them as any kuffar, mushrikun, except being attributed to a book, right? Attributed to a prophet. This any concession and this any privilege and allowance was given. Otherwise, they are khalat, any kuffar, type inhabitants of the fire of Jahannam, right? And some people would say, no, but the Christians now they believe Jesus to be God. Yeah, guys, the Christians then was the same, right? They believe Jesus to be God or the Son of God, right? Maryam, they believe in the Trinity, right? All these things, that what makes them a Christian in the first place, right? Yes, they have different sect, denomination, whatever, but Christian, right? So the slaughtering of a Christian, right, is permissible. The slaughtering of a Jewish person is permissible if it meets the requirement of Islamic slaughtering, just like a Muslim, right? If a Muslim takes a chicken and wring out the neck, right? Would that be permissible? No, but the man is a Muslim, right? But still, him being a Muslim, the slaughter being a Muslim, that is one aspect. The method of slaughter must be correct also. So even as a Muslim and he wring out the chicken neck, that is not permissible. So a Kitabi, a Jew or a Christian, their slaughtering is Allah Azza wa Jal, listen, mentions in the Quran, that verses in the Quran, right? That their slaughtering is jais and permissible, alright? So listen, yes, there are many people, right, who what? They are Christians by names and registration. Many of them are what? Atheists. We're not speaking about these people. We're not speaking about the atheists and the agnostics who what? Who left Christianity and believe in what? Nothing. Alright? We're not speaking we're speaking about any Christian people, right? Who believe Jesus is what? God, or the Son of God, and they believe what? In the Trinity. Right? This is what we're speaking about. If these people were to slaughter in a certain manner, right, that meets the requirements of the Sharia, their slaughtering would be permissible. Alright? If a Jew or Christian, right, just use the word kitabi. If a kitabi, he slaughters and says what? In the name of God, then that slaughtering would be permissible. Right? He slaughters in the name of God. Alright? Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned, do not eat that type except that the name of Allah is mentioned. Right? Understand the Coptic Christians, right? The Arab Christians, they speak Arabic language, they say Allah, right? And when they say Allah, right, they refer to the Father, right? They would say Ibn Allah, the Son of Allah, right? So this is how this is what understanding Allah is the Arabic word for what? For God, right? So if a person he mentions in a kitab he mentions in the name of God, then that would be permissible. Yes, even though, not even though, obviously his intent would be what? When he says God, his intent would be what? Jesus, right? Or what? The Holy Spirit. Or that is his intent, but he doesn't mention in the name of Jesus, no. In the name of the Holy Spirit. You're talking about church here now, right? If you were to mention that, then no, it's unlawful. But if you mention the name of God, that slaughter will be permissible, right? But understand, if he continues in the name of God who is what? 1 in 3 or 3 in 1. In the name of God who is Jesus, no. In the name of God, khalas, finish, right? And what? The narrations and traditions mention that this was the method of slaughtering of the Jews and the Christians at the time of the Prophet ﷺ. That is why you see that what Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he ate slaughtered meat from what? Jewish people, right? This was their method of slaughtering, right? The issue we have here is that what? Is not the person being a Christian, a true Christian or a true Jew. No, that's not the issue. The issue we have here is what these Jews and Christians, they do not adhere to what? The method of slaughtering, a proper method of slaughtering. Most of their slaughtering were mechanical slaughtering, alright? And what? They don't call the name of God. The name of God is not mentioned in their what? In their slaughtering, right? They deviated from that practice, right? So that is the issue. So just like what? We're not going to negate the permissibility of the slaughtering of the Jew or the Christian. No. But we say what? If that Jew or Christian slaughter according to the laws of Sharia, then that would be jaiz and permissible. Just like if a Muslim were to slaughter adhering to the laws of Sharia, it would be what? Permissible. But if a Muslim, he does not what? Him being a Muslim and he does not adhere to the laws of Islamic slaughtering, despite him being a Muslim, that would not be permissible. Simple as that. Right? So now, we mentioned, okay, it's simple as that, right? But there are certain scholars, right? You have some of the Arab scholars, right? They take what the literal meaning, right, of the verse, right? وَطَعَامُهُمْ حِلٌّ لَكُمْ, and their food, right, is permissible for you. Their slaughtering and their food is permissible for you, right? Meaning the slaughtering and the food of the Christians, the Jews, it is permissible for you, right? So here what we mentioned, it is permissible for us provided what it meets the Sharia requirement. This is the clause that we have, right? Others have no clause. That is their food, right? This is how they slaughter, then it's permissible for us, right? And some of the Arab scholars, khalas, and all this type of meat you get it in what? In Saudi. Right? So when a person goes for Hajj and they tell them, listen, when you go, right, be careful of what the meat you're eating. You say, but I go in the blessed land, boy. I go in the blessed land and you tell me careful what I eating. Because of this ruling, right? All is what? these what chickens are from from Brazil, South America, khalas. You find them over there, right? Because some of them of the opinion that what their food is permissible for us. Their slaughtering is what permissible for us. So this is how they slaughter, right? So this is their slaughtering and it's permissible for us. So that is why when people go for Hajj, right? What? We tell them, listen, purchase what you call laham watani, baladi, the local meat, right? And they would mention the restaurant that sell what? Local meat. The local meat will be permissible, right? The foreign one, this is what you're going to get with the foreign one, right? So that is why we refrain, even though Allah Azza wa Jal mentions it permissibility in the Quran, we refrain from what? We don't eat then from the Jews and the Christians. Why? Not because we contradict the verse of the Quran, wal-iyadhu billah. No, because what? Their slaughtering, it does not meet the Sharia requirements, right? It doesn't meet the Sharia requirements. Otherwise, listen, if a Christian comes now, right, and he says what? In the name of God, and he slaughters that chicken, then that is halal and permissible, right? He slaughters what? He severs the four passages, right? Then what? That is jais and it halal, right? So now we have the issue of what? Stunning, right? I really want to hear about stunning. Stunning, right? Understand there are different methods of stunning. Sometimes we mentioned earlier that what? That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we speak about perfection in what? In doing things, right? Nabi alayhi salatu salam, he mentioned, إِذَا ذَبَحْتُمْ فَأَحْسِنُوا الذَّبْحِ. And when you slaughter, then slaughter with perfection. وَلْيُحِدَّ أَحَدُكُمْ شُفْرَتَهُ. And a person slaughtering, he should what? He should sharpen his blade, sharpen his knife. وَلْيُرِحْ ذَبِيحَتَهُ. And relieve that animal at the time of slaughtering. Understand, there's no method more humane, right, than what? Yes, the animal will go through some sort of pain, right? No, you're not saying that, right? But there's no method more humane and less painful for an animal than what? Slaughtering, right? Than sharpening the knife and slaughtering that animal. You have these what? These slaughtering any method and any mechanism, which is stunning. You have the smaller animals and you have the larger animals. The smaller animals more what? Electric shock, electric tub, right? These chickens. Then for what? And now, alhamdulillah, many of what? This type is what? Reversible, right? As you mentioned, it's reversible. Stun them, right? And after what? If you take them off the belt, you see that what? They catch yourself and they regain consciousness and they move about. You have what you call the irreversible stunning, right? And this is more so with larger animals. This is where a captive bolt is what? Shot in the head of that animal, right? And people what? Writing research. No, this is less painful. So that is less painful. And this type is irreversible. Why? Because after that bolt goes into the skull, that animal can never what? Will never what? Live again, right? So what happens when that bolt goes there? The animal what? It starts to die. It not die. It isn't dead as yet. So before the animal dies, it is slaughtered, right? Before the animal dies, it is slaughtered. So now you have this whole what? Without even looking at what? Is the meat halal or not? The first aspect is what? That is what? Cruelty to animals, right? Forget the halal aspect as yet. We'll go to that, right? But that is what? Cruelty to animals. Sometimes when we speak about, Qurbani time, how we treat the animals. We don't drag them. We take care of them, right? We don't, harm the animals. And we think it's a Qurbani thing. It's not a Qurbani thing. This is how we treat animals in general. This is how we slaughter animals in general, right? And to adopt such any method, cruel method of what? Of slaughtering, this is against the Sharia, right? This is against what the teachings of Islam. We look at the hadith where this woman what? Khalas, Allah Azza wa Jal what? Entered her the fire of Jahannam because of what? Oh, cat. The treatment of that cat. And in many hadith where the Prophet ﷺ speaks about the treatment of animals. Alright? So it's not only Qurbani time we treat the animal good and this and that and whatever. No, this is throughout. This is how we treat animals. Alright? So that is the stunning part. Now, what is the hukum and the ruling with regards to stunning? Alright? So you would make your own judgment, right? Because we have what? Some say halal, some say, right? This is just food for thought, right? And you would what? You would apply your own ruling. We're going to what? This is the premise. If it is proven that that animal did not die due to the stun, whether it be the electric stun or the what? The captive bolt, right? Piercing the skull. If it is proven, right? And if a person is what? Is guaranteed, he is sure that the animal didn't die due to the stunning, then the meat is halal. Because after the stun, it is slaughtered. Right? After it is stun, it is slaughtered, the veins are severed. Right? So here now, this is the cause of death. Slaughtering. Right? So if a person is what? Confident. Right? Yes, research, most of the research, it shows that, listen, the animal doesn't die, right? Most of the research, it shows that what the animal doesn't what? Die immediately after the stun, right? We're speaking about the irreversible one. It doesn't die immediately after the stun, right? There's still some life, and some mention, okay, you have at least what, 1 minute or 2 minutes before it actually dies. So if a person would have slaughtered within that time, it would be halal and permissible, right? So that is the first thing. If a person is what? Sure that that animal, it didn't die because of the stun, right? Then if it's slaughtered afterwards, that animal is halal. Right. The second point here, if a person, right, if that animal happens to die, right, if the animal happens to die due to the stunning, then that meat is haram. Your Bismillah Allahu Akbar type doesn't mean anything as what you meet you may have a dead animal and they say Bismillah Allahu Akbar. That doesn't make it halal. Right? If the animal died due to stunning, then that meat is haram. Right? So those who would research, they would mention that, listen, even in the irreversible type of stunning, yes, the animal doesn't die immediately. But we ask a follow-up question to that, right? Is it possible, right? Is it possible that an animal could die due to the stunning? Yeah, there's a possibility, right? There's a possibility, right? Yes, you mentioned that, listen, the animal, right? Generally, the animal doesn't want to die due to the stunning immediately, right? You have a grace period, within that you slaughter. But the question is what? Is it possible that that animal, it dies because of the stunning? You say yes, it's a possibility, right? It is a possibility. So listen, you would give yourself your own fatwa, right? Those stunned animal, right? Is it what? Guaranteed that that animal didn't die? What guarantee you have, right? As for the what? Understand something here. Animals, just like human beings, right? The health of each animal, it will look the same way, but the health of that animal, each animal, it will differ. So yes, even though you want to regulate something, right? You're going to regulate it, but within that batch now, within that, you have an animal that is weak or sick, right? That blow type could be fatal to that animal, and that could kill that animal. So we normally check, okay, the normal healthy animals, okay, this blow will not be fatal. Yes, but there are certain animals, we don't know, right? Look at the incident of Musa alayhi salatu wasalam. You think when he cuffed that man, he wanted to kill him? No. وَكَذَهُ مُوسَى فَقَضَى عَلَيْهِ, and the man dead. One blow Musa alayhi salam hit that man, and he dead. His intent was never to kill that person, but that blow, it proved to be fatal. Alright? So, we have those who would certified stunning, and those who would what? Not certified, right? And those who would, like myself, would listen. Take precaution. We're not going to say, okay, this halal is haram, or we put what? Right? We set the premise just now. Alright? We mentioned what? Everything. So because of that possibility, right? A person what? Exercise any precaution. And we have substitute. Right? You might have to pay a little bit more for it. Right? But you make your own ruling, right? So the ruling with halal and haram, that is in its place over there, right? But despite that, we speak about the first aspect, the cruelty to animal, and that is something what? That is something that's proven, right? There's no difference of opinion in that. These same people who say, okay, this type of is less painful, you give them an electric shock and see, you put a bolt, how you mean it's less painful? Right, that is stunning, right? And understand when I say stunning, we have plenty places certified, so we're not going into that whole certification thing, right? We go to mechanical slaughtering now, right? What is the rule regarding any mechanical slaughtering? I'll move up. Okay, good. Mechanical slaughtering, as we mentioned before, one of these three requirements there, right? These four passages are severed, and then we speak about the aspect of tasmiyah, saying what Bismillah on the animal itself, and then we mention about a legitimate slaughterer, whether it be what a Muslim or a Kitabi. With regards to mechanical slaughtering, the first two requirements are not there, right? The first two requirements are not there, right? I know if you put a name on the machine, call the machine Muhammad, be Muslim machine. It's a machine that is slaughtering. It's not an individual, right? It's a machine that is slaughtering and not an individual. And if you want to argue the point, then, right? Okay, just like what you're holding the knife, right? Understand there's a rotated blade like this. It's not like a cut, all right? So to begin with, what? It's not a human. It's not that is slaughtering. It's a machine that is slaughtering, right? Secondly, is a condition that what? Tasmiyah, Bismillah be pronounced in each and every what? Animal. So even though you say yes, the man who operated the machine, he switch it on, Bismillah and he switch it on, right? He's a Muslim then. I mean what? Just say what? The operator is what? Is slaughtering. For argument's sake, right? So we just, the operator is what? He is a slaughterer. Right? The concept of tasmiyah is not there, right? When you say Bismillah, press that machine over that, probably kill about 20 already, right? That rotating blade and that belt, right? So the concept of what? Tasmiyah, Bismillah be pronounced in what? In each animal, that is not there, alright? So hence the word, the impermissibility of mechanical slaughtering. And then we have a question here that was asked last week. Right, so we don't need to repeat that. That person, okay. And this brother asked that question, right? If a person slaughters, for example, slaughters his own chicken in a non-Muslim depot, right? He slaughters his own chicken in a non-Muslim depot, right? Would it be permissible, right? Seeing that chicken, it will go into the same water that the non-halal chicken goes into, right? So we mentioned that once a person he slaughters his chicken, a Muslim, right, and he can identify that these are his chickens and there's no way in which it can be mixed up with other chickens, then it's halal, right? And if it's that the top is only the top that is the chicken is placed, only your chicken goes inside there, right? So despite the haram chicken being placed there before, then it will still be permissible, right? We mentioned that the feces and the blood is impure najis. feces and blood of halal slaughtered chicken is also impure and najis. The feces and blood of chicken, of haram slaughtered chicken, has the same ruling. Here we speak about the blood and the feces. It has the same ruling. So that water contains what? The feces and the blood of the haram slaughtered chicken, right? The feces and the blood of your halal slaughtered chicken is the same ruling, right? So generally, what is the ruling if the chickens are placed into the tub, right? So long as what? It doesn't remain over there to the extent that the meat begins to cook, right? What happens? Because if the meat begins to cook, the impurities would penetrate the skin, would penetrate the meat of the chicken, making it what? Impermissible. Not because it wasn't slaughtered according to the Sharia, not because of the impurities entering the chicken, right? So as we mentioned, those who normally pluck chicken, they would know what? The temperature, and they would know how long to keep it inside, right? So once it doesn't what? The impurities doesn't what? Penetrate the meat, that the chicken will be okay. Alright? And as we mentioned last class also, it's better that what? You don't cut it up. Right? Because you're going to get pieces what? You're going to get the contamination there. Right? So take your chicken home and cut it up. The laws of hunting. Right? Could finish that quick. The laws of hunting. This is what a forced method of any slaughtering. Right? So the thing about hunting, so long as what? You pierce the body of the animal with any sharp object causing the blood to flow, that would suffice. That what? To cut what? The passage, the four passage, that's not a condition, as in voluntary type slaughtering. Right? So once it pierces the skin, right? So the simple requirements, the person what? The person hunts using what? Anything that would pierce his skin. Arrow, where's hunt with? Gun, bullets, right? These things. Bismillah and shoot. Bismillah and pelt, right? And you have what? The dogs also. Bismillah and you release what? The dogs, right? Bismillah and release the dogs. But understand here, you can't use any dog, right? You have what you call kalb al-mu'allam, and this is also mentioned in the Quran. Allah speaks about the trained dog, right? Al-kalb al-mu'allam, that trained dog, right? So that trained dog, it has what? Superiority over what the normal dogs. Right? Because they train. Listen, anybody have training, they're more superior than other people that don't have training, even in the dogs. Alright? So if you have a dog that is not trained, that dog what it hunts, right? A prey, even though you say Bismillah, that is not permissible. Right? The dog must be a trained dog. Simple. So how you know a dog is a trained dog? The jurists, they mention that what? In training the dog, understand this is it. They qualify after this is the certification any level. Alright? They catch a prey and they don't eat from it. One time. Right? They send them again. Right? They catch the prey, they don't eat from it. Right? 2 times. You send them again. Right? They catch the prey and they don't eat from it. If that happens 3 times, then that is a trained dog. Right? This dog you can use for hunting. Right? It's a trained dog. A trained dog is that dog that hunts for its master, not itself. Right? So this is how we determine if that dog is trained or not. Right? So now and as he mentioned, if what you send a person, he shoots an animal, Bismillah, he shoots an animal, Bismillah, he sends his dog. And that person, what happens to meet that animal, that prey, right, in a state that prey is still alive, right, then he has to use what? The voluntary type slaughter, and Bismillah, and he slaughters, right. But as we mentioned, it's not a condition that what? After you shoot that animal, you run behind it. No, you can leave that for the whole night, the whole day, right. It doesn't matter. If you meet an animal and it died, that is permissible. Here we're speaking about you meet that animal, after what? Wounding that animal, after the dog wounding that animal, and the animal still has life. Alright? So if the animal still has life, you need to what? Actually slaughter that animal, then it's the passages. Right? If a hunter sends a dog there after upon reaching what? Reaching that prey, he sends his dog, right? And then afterwards, upon reaching the prey, the hunter upon reaching the prey, he sees what? His dog with a next dog. He sees what? His dog by the prey together with what? another dog, right? Then that is not permissible. Why? Because you see him what understand because of that. Anytime there's doubt on the understanding slaughtered meat, the ruling is what? Hurma, impermissible, right? For example, you have meat over here, 20 pounds of meat or 100 pounds of meat, and within that you have what? 1 or 2 pounds mix up that is not permissible. The entire thing becomes impermissible. Once there's doubt in slaughtered meat, the ruling is what? Impermissibility. So here now, if you find a dog next to what? Your dog, right? Meaning by the prey, then that animal is not permissible unless what? We know that what? That dog belongs to another Muslim who what? Who sent it with Bismillah.
If you have multiple dogs, right? Every time you release each dog, you have to say that.
Bismillah. Right? Understand that that is upon releasing, and after you release it one time, that roaming for about probably an hour, 2 hours. It doesn't matter. That one Bismillah, right? Whatever that dog comes, you don't have to say, okay, after what? Half an hour, Allah come back, Bismillah again. No. You release out Bismillah, whatever that haunts, right? That is jaiz and permissible. Right, William. Okay. That kind of finish up that anyhow. So that's where we skip some slides over here. The parts of the animals that are not permissible to eat, whether it be what involuntary slaughtering or what any forced slaughter, which is hunting, the flowing blood, the male, the female genital, the testicles, the glands, the bladder and the gallbladder, right? And if somebody speak about the flowing blood, that mentioned in the Quran, dam al-masfuh, right? Ad-dam al-masfuh. Here is specifically where that blood after what slaughtering or after wounding the animal and hunting, that blood that gushes out, that flows after slaughtering, that is impure najis. Not the blood that you find in the meat, right? So you don't want to wash the meat until they get white, until you see no sign of blood, because no, that's not impure, right? So if you wash the meat and you still see what? The water still bloody, that is pure. What is impure is what? The blood that gushes out at the time of slaughtering. Dam al-masfuh, that is impure, right? So understand if that is impure, we did a whole session a few years ago with that Qurbani time to perform Salah. People always make the excuse, but clothes have blood, understand, but listen, that you know what Salah going to finish at this time, that time, and you know that your clothes what impure, so you have to make arrangement for that also. So if it is najis that comes in contact with the clothes, then a Salah would not be permissible with some type of clothing, right? Must we'll stop here inshallah. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.